Here we are, right? All right. Well, here we are. Our next episode here. We're very excited to have our next guest on. This individual is a very dear friend of both of ours. He's someone who's been in the business for quite some time. Very respectable actor, director, producer, writer. One of the most versatile, and I mean it, one of the most talented people that we both have worked with. He's a friend, somebody you look up to as, even a mentor, you can call him in this business. He's been on The Sopranos. He has directed his own films such as Hot Ice, has written films like Long Shot Louie. Very impressive individual. Our good friend, John Bianco.
Wow, I was waiting for somebody else to come out with all those credits.
Look at all the accolades.
Yeah, the accolades are just flying around. Like, who is this guy? I was impressed with myself. Thank you for that. I appreciate the welcomes and all the accolades that you just gave me. And I'm happy to be here.
No, thank you, John. Yeah, no, I mean, really what we said is all true. I mean, your experience in this business is on every level is impressive. You're a very impressive guy. We've worked with you for a long time now. We're friends. And it's interesting, seeing the business evolve. We talked a little bit about that from when, even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, compared to when you started. How have you seen this business just evolve, and where do you kind of see it going in this independent, especially the independent world, right? I know you've both had huge films like The Sopranos. That's another level. Those things are always going on. But even that, actors are thinking about striking now. The writers are striking. Even writers are getting paid differently. How do you see this new digital age affecting, our industry?
I mean, hopefully in a good way. Hopefully we could all utilize that to, work in our benefit. We have to kind of it's like anything else. You just have to, if you don't evolve, if you don't find what the next niche is, you're pretty much dead in the water. So that's why, originally I started out just as an actor. And instead of waiting for the phone to ring, I said, no, what could I do next? So I went to film school for a very short period of time. And we shot film, actually, 16 millimeter. Sure. And I actually did, I learned about 3-point lighting, editing on a Steinbeck, cutting, pasting. So I actually did all of that back in, I want to say, I'm going to date myself now, but probably around 96, I think, was when I first took the first leap to say, I want not just to act, but maybe make my own film, kind of direct, and just learn how to shoot and light some stuff, You have to be almost a one-man show, instead of waiting for the phone to ring. So that's what made me take the next step. And then I guess now moving forward, 25 years later, 30 years later, whatever it is, you constantly have to find out what the next thing is, and kind of move towards that, gravitate towards that to keep yourself relevant, just keep working.
Back then, I used to say the same thing about you that I've said about Joe also, that, you wear many hats and you do it really well. It's an industry where a lot of people may try to do their own product, but they don't have the ability to, where I've seen you guys write, direct, act in your own projects and do it well, light the projects, everything about it. It was fascinating for me because it was always a learning experience for me on set,
right,
versus in film school.
We've all been in business quite a while, but look at when things have changed. I mean, John, when was the first independent film you made? When was Hot Ice? When did you do
film? Deadly Ties. I actually at the Brooklyn Boys.
They changed it.
Or Deadly Ties. So I did my first film we shot 16 millimeter film, and it just that was back in '96. That was my first short film that I did, that I acted and directed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went out and got the Canon XL.
Yeah, oh yeah, remember that camera very well.
Absolutely,
yep.
Canon.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that camera. The lens, everything was it was so. What I was gonna do was I was gonna do like a short mob little thing, and then all of a sudden, we shot a couple of scenes, and then I said, you know what, let's let me break more, and I mean, it's costing us like lunch and. Working with friends, what's the budget really going to be on this film? So I wound up writing a whole feature out of it, made a little storyline, and we shot that on the XL1 in '99.
Sure. Oh, that's what Deadly Ties became Brooklyn Boys.
That's right. Chris was in that.
That's right.
He played an FBI agent, and basically had all my friends in the movie, and that was a great experience, you know. So we shot that
for almost like nothing.
Sure, sure.
You know, maybe I shelled out $5-10 something like that.
Yeah, but that's worth. I mean, you kidding me? If you can get all film done for
Right.
yeah.
And then at that point I didn't know how to edit, so I had to get a friend of mine, Rick. John did a lot of the editing. Yep, John Richardson did a lot of the editing on that, and then Rick also did help us out towards the end on the editing on that.
Sure.
And then, so now I had the bug. So now I'm directing. I wrote. I learned how to shoot with a camera. I bought B&H. I wanted to get some lights. Next thing you know, we have like a whole production company. So now, the next year, I decided to do another short, which wasn't really it was like a 40-minute short called Three's a Crowd.
I remember, yeah.
Chris was also in that. Peter Carlin, who was a great friend of mine,
Joey
in my acting class. Joey.
Esposito,
Esposito. Again, friends in that. Turned out to be a 40-minute short, which we shot in 2000.
Sure.
And then in 2002, I had written Hot Ice way back in like 95. And I just had this vision of a dark alleyway with a van pulling up and guys running out with diamonds, you know. So that was my initial thought pattern for the whole movie. And then I wrote it. And in 2002, you know, shelled out a little more money for that, obviously, because that was a much bigger production than any other films that we shot. But I think we shot that with the XL2.
I read that was the 24p days. That was the XL2. You know how big of a deal that was when they had the XL2 come out. You could shoot in 24p. That was it. You know, you thought that you had like wow.
The mini DV tapes. Yeah. I still have the tapes. You know, I have to transfer those.
You remember how
because
it's funny
you lose the quality otherwise. Yeah.
When you talk about post-production and the advances in technology, you remember the pain in the ass it was when you had to transfer those mini DVs to Adobe. You had to sit there in time watching these things go.
Right. So if you shot, 40 hours of stuff.
You're sitting there.
You're sitting there
20 hours more.
Right. I'm loading, 1 hour tape into the
just sitting there at a time,
computer,
looking at it,
and I'm like,
terrible.
It's finally loaded in. Then you have to wait for it to download and all this other stuff. So yeah, it was kind of crazy.
It was crazy time, right? I mean, it was such an interesting way, but I think that was really the digital revolution. It's that Canon XL1, the XL2. Panasonic had their DVG series that had, those were beautiful cameras too.
Yeah.
And it felt like that's what really kind of started that whole indie revolution, followed up by the Red coming out. Was it 07, I think, is when the first.
Yeah, I mean, I know that then a lot of things switched over to the. So a few things switched over to like the Canon. I think I got like
what is it, the EOS 5 or something?
Yeah, that was the DSLRs.
The DSLRs. Now we came into the DSLR world.
The D5 was it?
It was a Canon, like the
Rebel. I had
the Rebels and the.
Did you have a 5 also?
I didn't have that. I had the Rebel. I had Canon Rebel. Because I did like Canon, and then I switched to Sony.
Yeah.
Then I went back to and then.
The 7D, the 5D.
The 7D, yes, right. We shot the 5. We shot with the 5D.
The 5D was nice. Mark
on 1, 2, 3, for Long Shot Louis.
Okay, yep.
Which I directed that, wrote that, for Steve Stanulus. And that's a
good movie that I'm proud of too.
Sure,
that was definitely
the next step up because we had real DP and a whole crew, and that was a whole nother level of an experience
shooting.
You wrote that, and I thought it was a great film. And you played the Louis' father, right? In the flashbacks, and your abusive father,
back to the '80s, the abusive drunken father. Yeah, I loved playing that character.
That was great. How did you feel like that? You had such, again, you're directing it, you're behind the scenes, but your impact when you were on camera was such a big part. It's not in about the whole thing, but that character is the whole catalyst for Louis' life.
Yes,
so that's the story. How do you feel from going, being if you're the lead, supporting? I think it's a lot of fun, at least in my opinion. I'm sure you feel that way when you play that kind of catalyst character. How do you feel about that?
Listen. I mean, the funny thing is I'm nothing like a lot of the characters I play. I'm a prankster. I'm a kidder. I'm easygoing. I don't have a short temper, but yet I'm drawn to these dark characters, like in Long Shot Louis. and the abusive. I'm, I have one beer and I'm drunk, like, so I'm not, I'm
He
not.
virtually abuses me, but
Yeah, that's another story in itself. But I mean, I'm not a heavy drinker. I never did a lot of drugs. I also don't really have an addictive personality. So, but I like portraying characters like that, and I do the research on that, and I talk to people that have had, these type of afflictions, and I just like to dive in and get into that dark space. I find it very interesting, and I also kind of like characters that may need like a female to pull them out of their hole, so to speak. So relationship stuff, like, because again, getting back to some writing, you have to the characters have to have layers in order for them to be interesting. Whether somebody in the audience may say, you know what, that's my uncle, or that's my father, or that's my cousin. Yeah, you have to identify with someone, and you need to root for them. If I have no reason to root for them, you have no film.
100%. Absolutely.
So that,
especially a bad guy.
yeah, exactly. So that's the whole thing. Like, why would I feel sorry for this drug abuser? Well, he was beaten as a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so now he's starting out below sea level here, so you're kind of rooting for him to make it. Yeah.
It's interesting, and we can go, that will segue us into our next part. I think one of the greatest examples of that was James Gandolfini in The Sopranos.
Yes.
They made Tony Soprano so relatable in those earlier seasons.
Yes.
Where every American thought that could be them or their father or their uncle, because David Chase did a brilliant job, and the writers in the show, making that character become more dark as the series went on.
Absolutely, yeah.
But at the beginning, it felt like, you'd be friends with the guy. He was a great, friendly person.
Right.
And again, like you said, you can relate to his struggle with the family loss and the fear of losing his family.
Why he turned out that way.
Brilliant like that. And you had the privilege of being on that show for multiple seasons.
God,
yes. I'm sure that experience was something.
The experience was incredible. And yes, getting back to Gandolfini and that character. So David Chase kind of created this family structure. So with the mob and with his family.
Sure.
So, the reason, James Gandolfini's character does the things that he does is for his family.
Yes.
To provide for his family.
In the best way
That's what it all boils down to. You could look at it a lot of different ways, whether you're into politics or this or that. Everything's corrupt at certain points and certain levels. It's just what you choose to allow into your lives. And, everybody's going to do different things to earn different money. So you could see, how he wanted to provide for his family, and that's the business that he chose. So at least now, and then we all know somebody, especially growing up in Brooklyn, or around the
he did the best he
area.
could based on his skill set he had, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
There you go.
That's basically what it comes down to. So, you want to, I mean, it's easier to structure like a blue collar type of worker.
Sure.
For most people to relate to. If you're getting into like the billionaires and stuff, then there's other challenges.
Oh, of course.
But I try to write, for me particularly, I try to write pretty much in my world, characters and people that I've been around, and that I could kind of create that character as if he's somebody that
It's interesting. We had a very unique experience. We worked on during the pandemic period 2 films that are actually outside of all of our realms. A lot of comedies and things that were a little more fluffy feeling, which is great. Great films, a lot of fun, great story behind them, but generally not things that we would probably work on normally within all of our context of what we like to write and work on. How did you feel working on these kind of comedy films? At least, like Uninvited was more up the alley because it had that kind of mob backstory. It had a little bit of grit to it. But we also worked on a great film. Coco was a lot of fun, and that was more of like a really happy, family, really driven film. How was it working on those kind of films compared to the kind of films you would normally?
Uninvited. You did a great job directing that film. I think it was a nice little piece, and it was very family oriented. Again, getting back to the family roots, and you really can't go wrong once you're in that family circle.
Sure.
And then obviously the husband lost his wife, so. Again, that's getting back to why I'm rooting for this character to succeed. And if I don't have a reason, I have no film. Same with the bad guys, I mean, you make them a little bumbly and funny and, but there's like a fine line with that too. So I really enjoyed playing that character. The glasses and it's kind of over the top.
Great. It's great. I love about both your writing as writer is that you show the relationships forming, developing throughout the.
Right.
It's 100% about character. It's not about relationships. It's everything.
About the right actor portraying that,
Sure.
not like overdoing anything. And that's the big trick with acting. And you're going to get a lot of different opinions. My view is to, as soon as the director calls action, as an actor, you feel like, okay, I have to do something. So you get inside your head and you're like, action. Okay, now I have to do something, as opposed to just playing it down and I'm just having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Now, it's easier said than done, and that's why a lot of people feel they could do it.
Yeah.
We, the professionals, make it look easy. And then when they get there and there's lights and there's a mic and there's people watching them, action, or, you get this amped up like, okay, I got to, as opposed to just saying, yeah, so what, talk to me about what just happened.
Yeah, God, you again, I have so much admiration for you, not only as a person, but especially as an actor. You're so, the subtlety that you bring to the character, as you talked about, taking it away is phenomenal. One of the guys we work with, Gene Hale, does a lot of the music with us. He watched you, even uninvited. We go, yeah, man, holy shit, his subtlety. Like when you just do your eye twitch at Louis, he was like, there's so much is said without saying anything. Right?
Yes.
That's a lot of talent to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
I mean, another example, I just worked on a film. Let me look it up.
I'll give you an example too while you're finding that I've never seen an actor who would cut back the lines.
So yeah, and I'll give you
Everyone
that's
wants more
exactly.
lines.
That's exactly.
So I'm like, I really admire that about you. And you're so in it that my character would say it this way.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what I just did once a week for life. George.
You want a strong Greek name, Chris? Come on now.
Zavelos. Okay. So George, I just did this movie once a week for life, and there were a lot of ex-Sopranos in there. John Fior, Artie Pascal, Armengaro. The list goes on and on with. And we had a lot of dialogue, and I asked George, who was directing, I said, George, do you mind if I just go through my dialogue and just kind of, I'm still going to give you what you want, but I just want to cut it down.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean you want to cut it down? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to say too much. I'd rather just, say more with my expression. I don't have to spiel out a paragraph.
Yeah.
When I could just say, go fucking take care of that thing. Something like that. And it just says 1,000 things. He's like, you're the first actor. They're like crossing his lines out. Most people want more. I want to do more. I want to put more in there. And, for me, that developed, it took years to figure that out, but it just works better for me. Maybe not for somebody else, but I think, and then when I direct films too, I'd rather have someone just say less.
Sure.
And just look at somebody a certain way. And this was something, a few times I did some teaching and acting and stuff. Like, I want to change that line. So the actor's job, in my opinion, the writer is painstakingly going through all of these different versions of them. So you finally nail it down to what you feel is great. And of course, everybody's going to have their own opinion, and you could change things here and there. But I could say one line, to a girl, and it could have two different complete meanings.
Sure.
And I will just say the line.
Yeah.
I could say,
Inflection
listen,
in your voice. Yeah.
I don't know. Later on, you want to go grab a cup of coffee. And she would say, fine. Then I could say, later on, maybe we could go grab a cup of coffee.
Look at you, Chris. I'm feeling uncomfortable. Actually, right?
So
I have my own coffee.
that was, that's a perfect example. Now, all I said was, later on, can we go grab a cup of coffee? But you know what each of them meant.
Yeah,
absolutely. When I said the same exact words came out.
Flexing the voice, look in the eye.
Yet they have two complete different meanings. That's acting.
Yes.
Okay, so when I try to reiterate that,
That's too strong.
yes, that's it.
That's the
Teach me,
waiting.
show me how to, please. I will pay you big money. Show me how to do that.
That's it.
Show me how to do that. It's because listen, when we're watching movies, and we see great performances and great actors, we're like, that's so
It's
like,
like when you audition and you know when you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
You just know the one that hit and the ones that don't.
Gary Oldman is my favorite.
Oh, you kidding me? Absolutely. Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
He is a guy that could do anything. True Romance is like,
Love it.
favorite
Yeah.
movie.
Drexel.
So he's playing a half-black Rastafarian drug dealer. He's an English guy.
Yeah.
Like, what casting agent said, let's get our Gary Oldman for this role?
Brilliant. Isn't it though? It's amazing.
So,
yeah.
you know, from that to playing Beethoven.
Yeah.
You know,
It almost kills
like,
me
how
to see
do
him
you-
as Commissioner Gordon in Batman because, like,
you know
that's
what I
not
mean?
the
Like,
actor I'm looking
that's,
for.
you know, there's very few people. Christian Bale, obviously. What's his name from my left?
What about Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy's great too.
Yeah.
he is. And I just watched The Drop again the other night. It was on.
Yeah.
And but you know, so getting back to that, I know we got a little off course here, but getting back to that, so you can make the same line have two complete different meanings. And I also say a lot of times, unless it's David Mamet, which is, you know, he's like, you know,
Yeah,
he's
rapid fire
typing a
type,
lot, and the words mean exactly what they are.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times in real life, when people talk, it's really what you're catching, what's not being said, and what's implied, what's in between the lines, you know? And then you're also thinking. So I like to speak less and let the other person talk to me, because now I could sit there and just watch you. Let's take all of that in. It's more interesting to me to watch someone listening than to hear them spieling off, you know, I'll fucking kill you. No. And if, depending on how you look, I have a hard look. If I just look at, say, someone and say, you know, I'm going to fucking kill you later, with a little smile, that's better than, oh, fuck.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it's creepy. Like, as I'm out at the guy, I'm like, you know, later on, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's not in the script. The line is there, but so now an actor has to interpret that line. And when I direct, I like to bring talented people in. Maybe I didn't see something. Show me what you want to do with that.
Sure.
And then I'll give you my version, you know. And hopefully they won't be over the top with it, you know, and where I have to, you know, obviously you want your job as an actor not to be that hard. So you hire great talent, because they bring to the table that stuff is already etched into their brains, and years of experience will bring that to the table. So,
You know, and you're right, because a lot of times people don't realize that when they're watching things, you're developing a character as an actor, and that character has relationships with everybody around them.
correct.
And when you have relationships, you don't need to say things verbally. I can even remember, I think it was at one of your birthday parties. It was me, you, Chris, Steve was there, Sam was there. And, you know, we were all sitting in the corner. Whenever, like, you know, you had to circulate around, but you'd walk by and we'd all, like, laugh when we look at each other. Because we all know that private joke, something happened in the room without using words. Everybody's on the same page just by giving the person a look. Because in a movie, if you're playing a character that has a relationship with somebody else, you don't need to say anything. 'Cause you know that character knows that character for years. They already know what they're thinking in their mind. So you just start laughing or angry at something. You don't even know what it's, you know, there's no verbalization needed for that.
So getting back to George, I mean, basically he was like, you want to do what? And I'm like, yeah, I want to I'm cutting this out.
Get rid of it, yeah.
You know, and for me, that's the money. That works. You know, give me the airtime just by, you know, looking at certain people like, all right. That's all. I don't have to say, what are you, fucking crazy about? Oh, I get that. You know, all right. And that means the same thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to say all of that.
Yeah.
So why do I need to say all of that?
No, it makes complete sense. Yeah.
I rather assume that the audience is intelligent and that they would get it versus if you would just keep talking.
Well, I mean, yes, they're going to get it if the actor delivers that, you know, because, you know, the camera doesn't lie. I mean, you're looking in the camera and you have that deadpan while the other person's speaking. Yeah. You know, you're a deer in headlights, basically. You know, you have to always have your wheels turning like, what is this guy thinking right now? What am I? So I'm saying that to myself. What does he mean by all of that? Yeah, no, man, coffee, this, that. You know, if you don't have all of that stuff going on, so like you see the way like you're just watching and listening to me because you don't know what I'm going to say. So the other problem with acting is we already know what the next line is. So how do I not anticipate that? Right now, you're hanging on each word because you don't know what's going to come out of my mouth next. Now you have to duplicate that.
So on that point, how does it feel? Because you're at a very unique point, right, in your career where you have such great experience. You understand the craft. You can teach people the craft. You can direct the craft. You can do it yourself. When you're on a set and you're working with, peers that are up and coming, and now you might find somebody who's not reciprocating and they're very stoic in their acting. They pre-planned everything. They already think they're going to react before you say anything. They're in their mind already.
Right.
They sat there in the mirror the night before. Looky,
Did
when that line hits, and I'm going to do it every single
Did it one way,
How do you react as an actor like that?
Now if you ask him to go da-da-da-da-da-da, well, I didn't practice that.
How do you, as an actor now, you're working with someone like that, how do you respond? You will have to do that sometime.
Yeah, no, listen, it's happened to me.
Law and Order.
Sometimes, I'll tell you that Law and Order story. But sometimes you, as an actor, you have to understand that now you're on an island, and I don't even need him anymore. It's going to make my job harder, but I am prepared. I have to be prepared for anything that gets tossed to my, because time is money. We're shooting. So if he's not giving me enough, yes, I'll try to have a conversation with him, or I'll speak to the director and say, could we make this a little more combative, or, maybe I'll get in his face. Maybe I'll force him to do something reactionary. Okay. So that's what or if that doesn't work, I don't want to frustrate the actor, again, as a director, if you see that the actor's not accomplishing what you are asking, then, those are his limits. So now me, as the more experienced guy, I now have to carry that load, so to speak.
Sure.
So I am going to react according to, as if this guy stepped up his game, and it happened on, I guess I'm not going to mention names.
I seen it happen to me between you and someone.
Someone on a big show, wasn't doing off-camera scene work. And the AD came over to me and said, listen, they don't do off-camera scene work. It was a television show. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, you're going to be working with the stand-in. So I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, that person was the star of the show, and don't you want your show to be better? So apparently not. So now I'm working with the stand-in. The stand-in is not basically, it's like reading with a casting agent.
Yeah.
So now I knew everything was on me. The only thing I said to the director was, I said, listen, just maybe I'll need an extra take or two. Please give me the time to make up for the absence of the star.
Okay.
And he said, John, you have all the time in the world. Absolutely. We're not going to move on to the next thing until you're happy with what you did. I said, thank you. That's all I'm asking. Another perfect example, like what Chris just mentioned to me, was one of the first jobs I did on TV was a Special Victims Unit. I got to work with Chris Maloney and Mariska. So the original scene was supposed to be me leaning against a van and my workers carrying rugs out, and they're having a conversation with me right there.
Camera was on sticks originally, right?
Yeah, they're going to handhold it probably because they like to move fast, but just one. So, all right, it's a 3-page scene. So I was like, all right, that's great.
Yeah.
We get to set. Now they need to move faster. So they're like, you know what? We're going to go on Steadicam, and we're going to just do one shot where we're just pretty much moving the camera to each person speaking. We want you now taking the rug out, walking it over to the door, coming back. She's going to get in your way. You're going to continue the conversation. So we all looked at each other like, okay, So now in my head, my heart's starting to race now. I'm like, this is the first time I'm on TV and I'm working with, for them, it's like, they're used to this stuff. But I wasn't used to that. It's my first big television show, So I'm like, so I said, all right, what am I going to say? I'm on set. So the first time around, I fucked up, of course. And all right, back to one. And The second time around, Chris screwed up his line after a page and a half in. Back to one. Third time, she messed up. Back to one. So we did it quite a few times.
Sure.
We finally felt perfect with the take, and the camera guy's like, listen, I missed that shot.
There you go. Yeah.
It's happened.
So we looked at each other like, back to one. 3 pages without cutting. It's not like you could punch in, So
Yes.
that's a whole nother ballgame. Now, if you're not prepared for that, if you don't prepare the dialogue, and I reiterate this so much to people that I talk to about acting, you have to know that dialogue backwards and forwards. In order to get creative, if you want, and I hate to use the word creative because you really just want to be in those moments, but you have to understand, you have to learn that dialogue so well that it doesn't matter what I'm doing. So I get to the point where, yes, I'm going to rehearse it just on my couch first, then I'll walk around. You look in the mirror, it's much harder to do it looking in the mirror because you start looking at yourself. You got to get past that. My last stage is driving my car, listening to the radio, and doing the lines. If I can do it like that, then I know I have it.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's that's my little 2 cents on that kind of stuff.